When doing dot symmetry, to make sure that things end up being symmetrical, we always use our line of symmetry and we count from that line of symmetry. So from the line of symmetry, I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. My pencil's going to be on that dot, and I'm going to turn my paper so these dots, and I'm going to draw a line going to that line of symmetry from there. Those need to be all lined up with me. Then remember, you plant your pencil, slide your ruler over to it, line up your dots so the edge of the ruler is touching each of those dots, and then lightly draw your line towards you. Then we're going to be counting over on the other side. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So make sure you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My pencil's there, and it comes to and meets at that line of symmetry. So that's easy to count over. Make sure those dots are lined up so that it is coming towards you again. And make sure your fingers are not hanging over the edge. And you've got your nice L shape. And draw towards that. And then just double check and make sure that, especially as you are just starting, that those are, yes, 5 dots, yes, 5 dots from either side. If you do horizontal lines, make sure again you line up the paper so it's going towards you, plant your pencil, and draw that line. You'll want to be connecting a few different dots at the same time instead of just like one dot next to another dot next to another dot next to another dot, because that kind of makes the design too complicated, and you don't want to have too complicated of a design. It's a lot easier to kind of keep track of things if you make things not too complicated. I'm going to start here from this point right here, and I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots. And I'm going to line them up to the top. Now that would be kind of tricky to do, so I'm going to turn my paper over, make sure that since I am right-handed, my pencil's on the right-hand side, and the dots are lined up coming towards me. So I have an easier time of things. Then, just like I went out 8 there, I'm going to come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Turn my paper so the dots are nice and lined up. And again, I'm meeting on that line of symmetry. And when you begin, you kind of maybe want to do a little bit of that so that things are a little bit easier to count over for you. Notice if I have a diagonal line going away from the line of symmetry, it needs to go away over here. So you're either going to be making mountains or you're going to be making valleys towards that line of symmetry. Horizontal and vertical lines, there's really no guesswork. So let's come over here, 1, 2, and I'm going to draw my line down. Notice it came over to my ruler, line things up, make sure that all the dots are connected, lightly guide my pencil there, and pencil down, line things up over here, and come down and just double check, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then a horizontal line, we can turn our paper, pencil down, slide it over to it. So a couple of things, don't make your design too complicated, so go to more than just a dot next door. You can do some of that, but don't make the whole thing something like that. Also, you have to connect from one dot at least to another dot. You can't just come and say, oh, I'm going to draw some dot from a dot just off my paper. So otherwise you'll end up with something that is not symmetrical. Also, we can't have any curved lines, so no curved lines. So a couple of examples of curved lines would be, something like this, where you've got some curves going on where that's not going to be accurate. So if you do come off your paper onto something, make sure you've lined up several dots so that happens. and that you can end up being symmetrical. Again, try not to have things too complicated. You want things pretty nice and simple. You do have to use every single dot in this project. So here's one. I've got just a little bit more from, I've got mountains or valleys. So in here I've got 2 dots that were kind of left over. A couple of options. You could do a line coming from those, pencil down, drawing towards you, pencil down on the other side, drawing towards you. Again, nice L shape, holding at least the ruler in 2 places, and your fingers are not hanging over the edge. Okay, so continue the process until you have all of the dots used and that your ruler is nicely used in your correct ruler techniques. Do nice straight lines. If any of them curved or you're not connecting at least 2 dots, you'll need to erase that line and try again. And again, always count from your line of symmetry to either side before you move on with your design. Don't try to do one whole side and then do the other side. That is a little bit too difficult. We want to train your brain so it sees it as you're going.